Whoa. Hey everyone, welcome to today's Program Yourself Thin podcast. Today we're talking about how to be more persistent with your weight loss. To really get the results you want, you're going to have to do this for a while. I know when people think about weight loss, typically it's how fast can I get the results, but the real results that you kind of imagine in your mind that you really truly want to achieve are results that you get over time and get to experience over time forever. That's the goal, right? And so it's not just about how fast we get there. It's about how long do we get to experience this. So I want to lose the weight and I want to stay there for the rest of my life on near autopilot. So persistence is going to be crucial because your goal isn't just to get to your goal weight, it's to live at your goal weight. So persistence is kind of baked into the whole equation because getting to your goal weight and living at your goal weight are two separate things, but they both take focus, energy, and persistence. And so setting yourself up to be persistent right from the beginning is crucial. And it's probably not what you've been doing because a lot of your persistence comes down to your motivation and your strategies. And when it comes to weight loss, you don't really have great motivation and you certainly don't have good strategies for persistence. So again, the motivation right off the bat is aimed in a different direction. It's not just to get to a goal weight. It's the fact that I want to live here for the rest of my life. This is how I want to live. This is who I want to be. It's a long-term forever goal. Okay, that's where the motivation comes from. Then comes the strategies, because when you look at the strategies you've used to lose weight, they're too overwhelming. No carbs at all, 1,200 calories. I'm going to count and track every single calorie that goes in my body. These things are too intense to maintain long-term and to be persistent with. Again, I like to put it in a different context for you to see it more accurately because you kind of habituated to it, is that if I said I want to learn the piano and I said, okay, I want to learn it really fast, I'm going to start playing 10 hours a day. Well, that's a shitty strategy to be persistent with, right? Because 10 hours a day, maybe the first day, and then forget about it, right? Your fingers are cramped. You hate the piano. You don't want to do it. It's too hard. But that's what you're doing yourself with your weight loss strategies, is you're in such a rush to get there that you're doing unsustainable things. And so it's almost impossible to be persistent with some of these extreme diet strategies. And so the alternative is that you, again, reference your goal, which is to live at your goal weight for the rest of your life, and start to set strategies up for that. Strategies that aren't so intense, strategies where you have some flexibility with them. So some days you're doing plan A, some days you're doing plan B, C, and maybe D. So you have some more flexibility in what you're doing depending on where you're at, because that's life. You're not always going to be at 100% in life so that you can do these crazy plans perfectly. It's just not going to happen when you start thinking long-term. So again, it's kind of a combination of really your mindset and motivation and your strategies. But when you start getting clear on the goal, and the goal is not just to lose the weight, you've done this, it sucks, because if you put it back on, what's the point? The goal is to get to your goal weight and stay there for the rest of your life. And so the strategy used to achieve that is much different. And it, by nature, is set up to be more resilient, and so that you can be more persistent with it because it's not so overwhelming. So I hope to give this some thought, because again, I want you to really think, how persistent can you be with your keto plan? How persistent can you be tracking calories long-term? And be honest with yourself. And once you realize not very long, start finding new strategies. And it is those new strategies that are probably going to ultimately get you the results you're looking for. So I hope this helps you out. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them and I will get to them. Within Potential, good morning. I love that. Within Potential. Yep. Is that Georgia? GA? Hope everyone had a nice Memorial Day weekend. If you celebrate that, I guess most people celebrate it. I don't know where that holiday is lined up. It's a federal holiday, right? So I guess everyone gets that off. Oh, it's kind of nice. I don't know. It's a little hard getting back in the mode today. I don't know. It's kind of a funny time. Runner 1080. What do you think of people in general? What do I think of people in general? I like them. I like people in general. I am an introvert, though. As I was saying that to someone the other day, and they're like, "What? You're an introvert? No way." I'm like, I absolutely am. I am I'm a outgoing introvert, but I like people. I find I do better not being around a lot of people all the time. So that's my kind of general feeling on people. But I clearly like people. That's why I do this. I want to help people out. So, hey, Tabitha. All right. I like your new name better. I think that's a better name probably for you. That's funny. Talking about consistency, I've been working out for 12 days straight and adding some walks too. Nice job. Nice job. That's wonderful. I'm about to, and I'll share this with you, and I will probably make some videos on this, and I will talk about this more as I move forward with it. But one of the things I was reflecting on this weekend is that it is about 4 months until I turn 50. And I was like, what's something I really want to get going here in my life? What's something I need to do, want to do, have to do, should do, really would like to do? All those things rolled into one. And I was like, I think one of those things at the top of the list is doing more resistance training. So I've kind of been playing with it in the back of my mind. I knew I could get away with it, but I'm starting to feel my body. If I'm going to have a thriving next 50 years, I'm going to have to add more consistent training and resistant training, I believe. So anyways, so my plan for it though is a 4-month plan to implement a resistance training routine. So what's that mean? Am I trying to have a 6-pack? Am I trying to have a certain amount of muscle by the time I turn 50 in 4 months? No. What I'm looking to do, my goal for the next 4 months is to have worked out consistently. So what I will do for at least the first month is I will focus on going Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays and literally just doing the exercises. I don't care how much weight's on there. Because one thing I have learned for myself over the last 50 years is that when I go to exercise, I overdo it. And I usually end up hurting myself or hating it. And so I'm really going just to move my body for the first month or two. Then I will start thinking about what weight I'm lifting and I will slowly progress. Now I only share this with you. I'll let you know how it goes, but I share this with you because I'm always thinking about keeping things up long-term. So, I mean, not always, I suppose this is, they say good judgment's the result of bad judgment, but anyways, I'm not doing the thing where I always, let's see what I can do in 3 months. What can I get accomplished if I go every day? I'm not doing that. I want resistance training to be part of my life forever. So I don't care if the first 4 months, year, there's no gains or I don't give a shit, to be honest. I mean, I really don't care anyways, but I do want to notice things and I want to notice more strength building up. But I just share that with you because, again, I'm thinking long term. I do this with everything, and it serves me very, very well. Served me well in my relationships, my business, my weight, my health, my happiness, my parenting, just everything. I think it's the right way to go. And it's not normal. It's not normal for humans to think long term, which is why I harp on it so much. Eliza, I like that, Eliza. How am I ever going to have a healthy relationship with food? Now, that is a great question. How can you have a healthy relationship with food? I love this question so much. Just want to marry it. It's my favorite question. What is a healthy relationship with food? First of all, I think that's the first thing we got to answer. And I think my definition of what a healthy relationship may be different than yours. And that's totally fine. So, what is a healthy relationship with food for you would be my first, how am I ever going to have it? Well, what does that even mean? Because it means different things to different people. So that would be my first question to you is what is a healthy relationship with food? Because it's like, there's so many options for what that could mean that it's your choice. A healthy relationship for one person, maybe I just eat enough to weigh this. Another person might be I eat in a way so that I feel the most satisfied and energized and vital. And I don't really care about my weight. Another person said, I don't give a shit about my weight or my health at all. I just emotionally, the food is kind of the thing that really gets me through the day and the thing I look forward to. So I guess in that way, it is a healthy relationship. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many definitions, So, I mean, I'll give you my definition. My definition of a healthy relationship with food is to balance it. So in Program Yourself, then we have clean and pleasure days. So for me, one of the biggest things I learned from being a raw foodist for a period of time there was that being an extremely strict diet was not a healthy relationship with me. Physically, I felt pretty amazing, but mentally and emotionally, I was obsessed with food. And that was a very clear indicator of what an unhealthy relationship felt like for me. And so for me, the path I've walked down is really a path of moderation where I'm primarily I am a very clean eater. in terms of I really eat primarily whole natural foods. I don't eat a lot of processed foods ever, ultra processed foods specifically. And so there's that. That being said, even within my week, I have my clean days where I'm really eating clean, less sugar, less flour, virtually no processed food. And then I have the weekends where I eat more for pleasure. And of course, my clean days are never 100% clean. So that there's things get in there sometimes, but that's the goal. That's the intention. That's the majority of my food. So yeah, what is a healthy relationship with food? I can't define that for you. I'll give you the generalities I think most people agree with, that you're not thinking about it constantly, or if you are thinking about it, it's a light thinking about, not you're obsessed about it, you're not worried about how you have to stop eating something you really want to eat. That self-torture, I think a lot of people experience with the food, an absence of that would be nice. Liking the foods, enjoying the foods, eating the foods regularly that give you the weight, health, vitality, happiness you want, so that's kind of a general vague term of it, but of course I would want to get much more specific with it. There's a bobcat near me. I got this Ring camera thing and it tells you like everything that's going on in the neighborhood, the animals. Smita Sart says, do you have any advice for food allergies and intolerances? Seems like my body can't stand a lot of stuff and I'm hungry. No, here's my advice is it sucks. That's not advice. That's empathy. I know it's hard. I've worked with a lot of people with different intolerances, allergies, and it's a challenging path, but on the other hand, it's challenging and a benefit all at once. A lot of times is what I see. So it's challenging because a lot of times you have to change completely how you're eating, and that's hard. Change is hard, period, most of the time. And so I've had clients that have the fructan allergy is one of the most intense ones where you really cut a lot of stuff out, and it's hard. It's hard, especially if you got family and different people. It's a challenge. On the flip side of it, though, is you really have your physical body is really supporting you and making healthier choices, because if you eat the wrong thing, you really feel bad about it. And so it's there. It's real intense energy kind of guiding you to the right stuff. I'm very sensitive to food. I don't have allergies or intolerances, I wouldn't say. I don't know. Dairy, I certainly feel lactose intolerant. I don't feel well when I drink dairy. So I will tell you, for me personally, though, as I have developed sensitivity to food, and I use sensitivity to food as a specific concept, that as you start paying attention more, as you start eating cleaner, as you start meditating and paying attention to what goes on with your body after you eat, you develop sensitivity to it. Not food sensitivities, but you develop sensitivity to the food. That has been probably my biggest help in cleaning up my eating, because I'm very aware that if I eat that, I feel like shit. I eat that, I feel really good. And that has driven most of my food behaviors that I currently experience now. It's mostly driven through that. Do you drink diet drinks? I do not drink diet drinks, and I would not drink diet drinks. Again, going back to the healthy relationship with the food, what is a healthy relationship with food? I think the start of a healthy relationship with food is eating real food, recognizing the difference between food and food stuff, I think is the starting point, because a lot of us have been eating that standard American diet, which is a toxic diet. I don't mean to sound so dramatic, but it's a very unhealthy, processed, bullshit in it that is overtaking your mind and your body and hijacking it. And I think this artificial sweeteners, I think diet sodas, are they better than regular sodas? They're less calories. I'll give you that. Are they better? I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't drink either of them because I don't want my taste buds decalibrated at really high, unnaturally sweet flavor profiles. So I don't want to eat sugar a lot of the time. I moderate sugar like I moderate alcohol. And so artificial sweeteners, I don't want to put that shit in my body. Again, is it going to give me cancer? I doubt it. But I do think that it keeps my tongue calibrated to highly unnatural, hyper palatable sweet flavorings. That's what tastes good. And so if I'm drinking a diet soda and then I go and eat a piece of fruit, that fruit tastes bland and boring in comparison to the fireworks of the diet soda even. And so that's something, again, going back to the healthy food relationship with the food, I think eliminating as much ultra processed foods, artificial things as possible, I think is going to support you better with a healthy relationship with food and ultimately with better weight and health, control. Can you keep sweets in the house and not overeat? Most people aren't disciplined. Yeah, it's kind of true. I mean, can I keep sweets in the house and not overeat? Yes and no. Most things I can at this point. there have been times when I couldn't. Ben and Jerry's ice cream pops in my head. That's one I keep out of the house, because otherwise I start just getting fixated on in the back of my head. So I don't want that. So, but sometimes I can have stuff in here, and I structure my eating. So that's a core part of programming yourself, then, is structuring your eating. I don't see you getting much success with your weight or health related to food wise if you don't structure your eating. Because I think if you just think you're intuitively eating in a hyper palatable food environment, good luck. I couldn't do it. So I structure my eating. Now, I've been practicing structured eating for 30 years. So can I have other foods around me now and deal with it? I can most of the time, I would say. There's always some things. Yeah, Runner 1080 says there's temptations everywhere. There are temptations everywhere. That is true. But the temptations that you experience are relative to your mindset. Okay. So, for example, there's cigarettes in every convenience store. If you're a non-smoker, you don't even know where they are, right? You don't even see them. And so a lot of your mindset dictates what temptations you're even aware of. And so dieting is a concept that's really been hijacked by the food companies. All the big diets you know of and been learning from for your whole life are all owned by big food companies. And what they're doing, the diets literally get you fixated on the exact food you're trying to get more control over. So yeah, there are temptations everywhere, but there aren't as many for me. Just like if you're a non-smoker, you don't feel tempted by cigarettes constantly. You're a non-drug user. You don't feel tempted by heroin all the time, even though it may be around you. You don't even see it or notice it because you're not tuned into that level of reality. And so when it comes to the food, I'm trying to tell you, I've studied the food stuff, and I've done so much work on how I think about food that I'm not that tempted when I walk in a convenience store, to be honest. I'm really not, because the way I think of the food and the feelings that creates in my body is a lot different than the way that someone who is addicted to processed food feels when they walk in there. So a lot of it is mindset work. I think the big mistake I think a lot of people make is they might look at me and say, oh, well, you got a lot of willpower. I don't have the willpower you have. Well, this isn't willpower. This is not a willpower thing. It's a mindset thing. It's a better strategies thing. It's a consistently working and practicing on things thing. It's, so again, people that don't know, just look at something, oh, it's willpower. You just got a lot of willpower. That ain't that. Do you think of them the day it's what you do with your life that really counts, not what you consume? Don't you think of them the day? I'm not sure what that means. Don't you think it's what you do with your life that counts and not what you consume? Oh yeah, sure, for sure. But consuming is part of my life too. I think that, I agree, because for me, weight loss is really wrapped in personal development. So this is really a process of being the best version of myself possible. So absolutely, I'm way more focused on what I want to do, who I want to be, how I want to feel, that stuff. That being said, food is still, we're humans, and it's a rare human, I think, that's going to like food doesn't matter at all to you. What you're consuming doesn't matter at all to you. So again, for me, I look to strike a balance there. I don't want to be a person who never, right now at this point, I don't want to be someone who never drinks alcohol. I like drinking alcohol moderately. I enjoy it. I like eating certain foods. I like it. So I don't want to eat this perfect life, because what's that either? So I guess it's up for each person to kind of decide where they're at with the whole thing. Do you eat Greek yogurt? I don't really eat much yogurt. I don't really eat much dairy at all, but I eat it sometimes. I find yogurt I like a little bit more than other dairies. Agrees with me a little bit more. Let's see. I was neglecting TikTok a little bit. Let me get to some questions over here. And of course, I got to scroll through 500 things. What's up, Karen? I need to hear you today. I know. I think probably a lot of people need to hear me today, because I need to hear myself today. Understand that too. That, part of my, I love doing this work for a lot of reasons. But one of the reasons I like doing it is I like it for me. I like reinforcing this message for myself. And, I get out of the weekend, and it was a great week. I had a great weekend. It was a lot of fun. And some weekends when you have a lot of fun, it's harder to get back on track, so especially the summer's coming, all the rest of it. Tora says, I'm a teen and I've been trying to lose weight for weeks, but I always end up binge eating. A lot of times when people are trying to lose weight for weeks and not losing weight and then they binge eat, it's because you over restrict, and then there's kind of this, it's like a pendulum, you know what I mean? You way over restrict, and then you get tired of that, and now there's a bounce back effect where now you way overeat. And that's the, I don't know. What can I say? It's like, Jesus Christ. I don't know. I don't know what it would take for people to, I don't know. I study humans constantly, and there's something about us where we just really lock into a way of thinking, and that way of locking. That's why I say, if you're struggling with your weight, the number one thing you got to deal with is your mindset. You got a diet or mindset, and that diet or mindset, one of the worst parts of it is you can't even see reality anymore, you know? And this fucking dieting thing where people drastically over restrict calories and then binge eat and then say, what happened? I don't understand. I cut everything down. I didn't lose any weight. And then I binge ate. Well, what's going on? Help me out. And it's like, I don't mind helping you out with it, but I'm telling you, I do this 100 times a day, every day. I'm answering this question and I don't mind. It's just what I do. But, you should be asking yourself the question, why the fuck don't I realize that I keep doing the same exact thing and getting the same results and I keep doing the same thing? That's what I want you to do though. Like, I'll do my part and I'll keep answering that question a million times. But you should do the part where next time you go and you over restrict because you're all fired up, and then you go and you binge a couple days later because you can't keep it up. And then please do me the favor, taking a step back and saying, why do I keep doing this? Why am I like this? And then remember everything I said about the diet brain. It's because you can't even think straight. You're not even thinking clearly. Oh, I don't know. Some days, I don't know, just things get to me. The weight loss drug things get to me. Then I see a thing. I'm going to watch it today because I couldn't believe what I saw. It was something called, I don't know, I've never heard of this, so the Big C or something. And I don't know if it's about cancer or cigarettes or what, but I saw a clip of it on TikTok actually. And someone was showing a clip of the movie, and they were showing, because people don't know this. And this is the part that depresses me, is that it was showing how RJR Reynolds they merged with Nabisco. Then it turns out, if I'm not mistaken, I might screw this up because I just saw this today. And I knew RJR Reynolds, the cigarette company, and Nabisco were merged. I knew that one. And I might mess this other one up. Philip Morris owns Kraft. And I think they said Philip Morris also owns General Foods. Just sit with that for a second. If that bothers you at all, maybe you don't care. Maybe you don't care that the cigarette companies bought the food companies or have a huge impact on our food supply. Maybe you don't care about that. I do. It bums me out. It bums me out. Makes me feel apathetic sometimes. Makes me sad. Someone asked me, what do I think about people? And I feel like I care about people. And it makes me sad to think that the cigarette companies that would sell you death to make money in the form of lung cancer and other cancers and problems from cigarettes will now go into the food industry and do the same thing. But it's worse because you don't even see them. You don't feel that way about the food companies. You love the food companies, right? It's like, why wouldn't you? Goddamn nonstop fucking commercials for these foods. Nonstop. I don't watch commercial TV. I haven't for 25 years. And I'm watching the playoffs, the NBA playoffs. The Celtics are playing. And it's like the food commercials. And people saying, Jim, I don't know if I can be hypnotized. I'll kind of fight against it. I'll fight against the hypnosis. I don't think it's going to work for me. No, as you shove all that fucking shit in your mouth. Why do you think you keep eating all this stuff? Oh, I'm addicted to it. Why do you think you're addicted to it? Oh, it's a little sweet tooth. You don't think it has anything at all to do with the hundreds, thousands of food commercials you see every single day? You don't think it has anything to do with the billions of dollars of advertisements going into your brain? Oh, it's the stuff. It's like people, I don't know, some days, and you know what it is? It's the 1-2 punch. It's the 1-2-3 punch. I don't know if Mario's here, but I start watching the Jubilee video he wanted me to watch. It's the one punch. It's the punch of knowing that the cigarette companies have a huge influence over the food industry. The food companies that are owned by the cigarette companies own all the big diets that you're trying to learn how to lose weight from. The same people own the fucking medicines that now are the miracles that are going to make you lose weight. And they're just going to condition your brain to think that's the only way to lose weight. I don't know. Some days it just sucks. But I'm here to be supportive. So let me pull myself right out of my little funk. I want 1080. So I keep all my sweets in the trunk and allow myself to open it 3 times a day. I know that sounds wacko, but it works for me. That's a weird one. no, no judgment, but that's an odd one. It's like, it's so funny. That's why I love this. When you thought you heard it all, but that does sound wacko. But again, I respect it, and I really do, because who gives a shit what I think? I always say there's only, there's no right or wrong. It only works for you, but yeah, putting sweets in the trunks and allowed to open it 3 times a day. That's a weird one, but if it works for you, great. What do you think of Halo Top ice cream? I mean, I guess it's less calories in it than regular ice cream. And, there's that. So it's fine. Again, it's not so much what I care about. It's more like, if you want to try that out, go ahead, knock yourself out, see how it works for you. If you still get to eat ice cream, but eat a lot less of it, cool. I'm not for or really against very much. I always like to look at things within context and see how a person feels about it. Renner says there are vultures in the skies that prey on the weak. Well, this is true. This is very true. This is true. I think it's a step beyond that, though, is the part that really bums me out. I think there's vultures in the sky and they prey on the strong too. I think most people just don't see the food landscape the way it really is. It's literally just like the cigarettes back in the 50s. It's like, I don't think people thought they were healthy, but people did not realize how unhealthy they were. They didn't know how bad they were for you. And it's like, you think all the people that died because they were smoking cigarettes and just literally just didn't know. They didn't internalize how bad it was for them. And if they did, by the end, that time they were hooked on them, And so it's like, it's dog eat dog world out there. Was that Ronnie Dangerfield, the dog eat dog world? I'm wearing milk-bone underwear. We all got milk-bone underwear on. It's like, they're coming for us. I got to change the tone. I guess I'm more optimistic, because I got an optimistic message. But sometimes, it's like it's intense and people don't see it that way. Yeah. Karen said, can't wait for the real tomatoes. Oh, here. I know, real food coming out. And that's one thing I am doing is I'm getting a CSA this year again and committing to that one. CSAs are great. Well, they do got half shares now. We did it a couple of years ago and it was intense, but it's good. I mean, it's good, like, obviously, but it's intense cooking all those vegetables. Even when you eat healthy, it's hard to do all that stuff. So anyways, Simon K. Malik, is it healthy to have a cheat day once a week, or how should you structure think about it? I will give you my take on it. And so my take is really very contextual in the sense that there's a bigger plan. So Program Yourself Thin is a weight mastery program. It's not just about getting to your goal. It's about living at your goal for the rest of your life on your autopilot. So that's the preface point. So that being said, it's a comprehensive, holistic strategy. And we follow the weight mastery pyramid with a mindset, lifestyle, eating blueprints. Part of the eating blueprint is that there are clean days, pleasure days. And the clean days, it's up to you. So for me, I follow a 5-2 model, 5 days of clean days, 2 days of pleasure eating. I worked up to that. Okay. So that's not where I started. I started off with 1 clean day, 6 days of pleasure eating, and worked it up. So I think for the average person, you're absolutely going to need to have a pleasure day. I don't like the word cheat day, just the same way you wouldn't call it an adultery day. It's a weird thing to say, it's a weird framing around it, in my opinion. So I like pleasure days. I like to say pleasure days because I know it triggers people and they get freaked out. And I like that because you should learn how to eat for pleasure and not be freaked out about that. So yeah, but is it healthy to have a cheat day once a week? I mean, it depends what you do. You know what I mean? If it's a binge day where you're eating, 6,000 calories of shit, then that's not healthy. But if it's a day where you allow yourself to kind of eat what you really enjoy and get a real lot of pleasure out of it, and you're right back on track, then I think it's very healthy, So again, there's got to be a strategy there. So with Program Yourself Thin, we structure our clean days, we structure our pleasure days. And the pleasure days are harder to structure because people don't know what they're doing. They've never tried this. So it takes a little bit longer, but once you got it, it's a huge part of my strategy. What keeps me on track is knowing that this weekend I can eat what I want to eat. That's a huge part of my motivation and ability to stay on track. So I would find that would be important for most people. I think one of the biggest mistakes most dieters make is that they do the, okay, now no more sugar routine. as if they're never going to eat sugar again. And then they start feeling deprived and self-pity, and then they go and end up eating sugar that day probably. So again, I think when you zoom out a little bit on people's patterns, it's very obvious why. And I think never having a day off is a great recipe to burn yourself out. So that's kind of my general thoughts on it, but I have a lot of specific thoughts on it too. I talk about this literally every single week. So yeah. What's up, Mario? Within potential. Yep. You've helped me so much. Well, thank you. I'm glad. That's my goal here. Having a sense of self is what most people don't have. I agree with that somewhat. I mean, programming yourself, then a huge part of the mindset is your self-image, because your self-image in my world, in my belief system, I believe your self-image is the primary thing dictating your weight. I think you think of yourself as an overweight, thin, healthy, or a thin, healthy person. It's not so clear cut. Thank you, Mario. There's more to it, but I think that you think of yourself in a certain way. You think of yourself as an overeater. You think of yourself as having no willpower and control. You think of yourself as all these things. And I think it's a very important piece of the puzzle to mastering your weight is to master your self-image. Who do you want to be? And I think that's a foundational piece of what your weight's going to be, is how you think of yourself. But glad to have helped you within potential. And I'm glad that someone mentions, having a sense of self is really important during this process. What do you eat for breakfast? My clean eating days, my breakfast is usually, I'll have like Ezekiel toast with natural peanut butter, and then an apple with natural peanut butter, and a good amount of water. That's a typical clean eating day breakfast for me. And I eat the same breakfast Monday through Friday. So, but I want to be clear, you don't have to eat the same thing every day. You have to eat, again, you got to honor your own variety. If you're someone who needs more variety, then you add more variety in. It's not rocket science, and there's no one way to do things. For me, one of my superpowers, I can eat the same shit every day, and I don't care. I mean, I can't eat the same thing every day. My weekends, I need a break. But Monday through Friday, I enjoy my breakfast very much. I enjoy my lunch. My dinners are different day to day, but I don't mind eating the same thing. Is it as exciting as, today I'll get pizza. Now I'll get a tuna melt. This time here, I'll go out to here and eat, and I'll eat burritos, and here I'll eat. Like, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? I can't do that all the time, and I wouldn't want to. But there's a bit of variety there. But, you got to figure out how much variety you need. Everyone's got different variety requirements. And I think that the best path forward is to figure out what yours are, build around those. You know what I mean? So in case I just answered that one. What is a CSA? A CSA is like they call it like a farm share. What is a CSA? I think it's community supported agriculture. I just pulled that right out of my ears. I think that's what it means. I'm guessing that should be what it means if it doesn't. But anyways, it's local farms have farm shares. And so you buy like a share of it, and then every week you get a bunch of vegetables and fruits. But the cool thing about it is multiple folds. And this is, I will tell you this, and I say this all the time, but I want to give you a context of what I mean here. That for me, my goal is totally different. My goal is different than the average person, right? I don't want to just lose weight, right? Everyone just wants to lose weight. I just want to lose weight. I just get off. I want to live at my goal weight. It's a totally different goal. And so when I talk about like living at my goal weight forever, and I talk about taking my weight loss and rapid in personal development, it's a process of never ending improvement. And that's the part that really drives me day to day, because the scale is the same, and I think a lot of people should really think about this. A lot of times you can give up the food in the short term because you're giving up the pleasure of the food for the excitement and pleasure of the scale going down. And so you kind of make a trade-off. But at some point, the scale stopped going down. You still got your bullshit in your life going on. It's better. Don't get me wrong. It's better, but there's still bullshit going on. And now you can't turn to food. Where are you getting your excitement from? What are you looking forward to? I think that's an important question to consider. I'll tell you what I look forward to. What I look forward to is that I'm always improving things. So again, there's a weight mastery pyramid. So there's multiple things that I'm working on. I'm not just cutting calories here. All I do is control my calories. Because what controls your calories? Someone's telling me, made a video, said if you're overweight, it's because you're consuming too many calories. So that's not true. What if you're stressed? Well, what do you think the stress is doing? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that cortisol and there might be some other biochemical hormonal factors when you get stressed might contribute to hold on to some weight. But what do you think the main reason stress causes you to put weight on is? Sometimes I don't know if people know the answer to this. It's because you eat more. When you're stressed out, you eat more when the food's all around. So I don't know, I got off track there. But for me, it's not just about eating a certain amount of calories. It's about becoming the best version of myself possible and doing it in the most interesting way. And so it's a never ending journey of personal development. And so for me, it's like things have changed so much over 30 years and they continue to change. Like 5 years ago, I didn't have a salad every lunch. Now I do. And that was an enormous increase in the quality of my life when I started doing that. And so there's always little things like that that happen. And so anyways, there's a long ass winded way to bring up the farm shares again. A lot of our food, even when you eat healthy from the grocery store local to you, it's still shit that's been picked days, weeks ago, stored. You know what I mean? It's literally, again, the produce section will be a lot healthier than the package section of your grocery store, but even the produce section is not as healthy as the foods were 100 years ago. Our entire food system has been optimized on economics for over 100 years, not on nutrition. So to get food that's grown in my general region, in my biome, I believe is going to support my microbiome. I believe the nutrients are going to be fresher because I'm getting it more recently when it was grown. It's in the area I was at. And it's heirloom seeds. You know what I mean? It's not a Monsanto plant. So there's a lot of little benefits I'm going to experience, I believe, over this, and I'm really fascinated by it. So again, this is another step on my journey. It's never ending though. And I think you got to set it up this way because humans need some sense of something to look forward to. It's the dopamine in your brain. You need something to look forward to. And most people, what they're looking forward to is the new Ben & Jerry's ice cream flavor tonight, or the new flavor of fucking Lay's potato chips or whatever. It doesn't matter because that's the new thing in food marketing is take the shit, just put another flavor on it. Put another flavor on to pump down some more corn down their gullets. And that's where we're at. So, you've got to create your own dopamine, expectations that aren't just food shoveled down your throat. And that for me is one of them. That's just an example of it. So I'm very negative today. Can you repeat about cigarettes? I just joined. I will repeat it against that because I think most people don't know this. And I'm just going to back up and I'm going to repeat the cigarette thing. What a lot of people do to try and motivate themselves to lose weight is shame themselves, guilt themselves, feel like shit about themselves. And that doesn't work, in case you didn't notice. What works a lot better is the cigarette company model. The way they reduced cigarette consumption levels so drastically was educating people and let them know that these companies are trying to addict you to things. They're trying to addict you to stuff that kills you and gives you a shitty quality of life. They literally have taken the cigarette. So why do I say this? Because the food companies are owned by the cigarette companies. RJR Reynolds and Nabisco are literally the same company. Philip Morris bought Kraft Foods. They're the parent company. And if I understand correctly today, I just learned they also bought General Foods. And it doesn't matter. I mean, they're all run by the same shitty people, but it's like, if you look, would you buy your fucking food from Marlboro? Would you trust them at this point? What is your gut level reaction to Marlboro and cigarette companies? Hopefully it's negative. And what I'm trying to tell you is that you should bring a little bit of that into their food companies. You're sitting there thinking that, it's like they're great. Oh, I love my Ben & Jerry's. Two hippies up in the woods of Vermont making ice cream. No, it's not. It's Unilever. It's a big company. When I say big company, it doesn't even make sense to us, right? They're so big. It's just, so the cigarette companies bought the food companies and they're doing the exact same shit that they did with cigarettes to us with the food. They're making the most addictive product possible. They're using the most aggressive marketing possible to get people hooked on it. And they're sitting on all the signs to let you know just how bad it is for you. And here we are. And this is, again, let's talk about semaglutides and fucking weight medicines and not talk about this fact. It's just, I don't know. Like I said, I've heard people binge on multiple Halo tops because it's low calorie. Odd. Yeah, no, I'm sure people can binge on anything. I've heard of people eat 30 bananas a day. So, I mean, there's a lot of people in the world. We got to leave the outliers in the outlier category, but the Halo top, yes. As soon as you It's the licensing effect. Okay. So as soon as you do something good, moral, and virtuous, or think you're doing something good, moral, and virtuous, you tend to follow it up by doing something not that good, moral, and virtuous. And eating low calorie ice cream certainly seems like a gateway into like thinking, oh, I can eat all of it then. And it just keeps the habit going. So, but I'm not here to knock it, because I've also met people that's been a part of their strategy, their successful strategy. So I'm not knocking it. Just go into it with eyes open, So yeah. Let's see. W says, "What's your opinion on taking supplements while trying to lose weight? Is it helpful?" I don't. I mean, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about pill supplements, powder supplements. That's not my game, so I don't know. I'm not saying it's helpful or not. What I'm saying is that my bias towards it is I think it's a bunch of bullshit, and I much rather would get my nutrients in natural form. And for me, that's salads. I eat big ass salads every day. And so I don't think science has gotten the ability to know everything. I think they don't know a lot. I think they know a lot too. I love science, but I don't think they know everything. And so I think that I don't trust supplements, and I would rather get real, genuine, high nutrient density foods into my body. The good old fashioned foods that people have been eating for millions of years. That's what I like. I think we live in the Garden of Eden and we're not taking advantage of it. You can walk into a grocery store and there's this whole Garden of Eden in front of you of wonderful foods to eat that your body loves and craves, desires. And you ain't giving it to your body though a lot of times. So yeah, I take the supplements because I will tell you it's funny too. Like no one ever bitches about the cost of supplements. But I personally would never ever give my money to the supplement companies before I gave it to the farmers and the natural whole food people. That's what I would suggest. What's up, Heather? Trying to get myself to think of processed food like I do alcohol. It makes me feel like shit. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Heather, that's exactly it. I mean, I've again, this is the part that no one wants to hear, and I'm just gonna say it because I don't give a shit. I was thinking of this today. I got a client. She's in the group coaching program, and I don't know if she's here right now, but she's saying how she's in the program for 5 weeks and she's gained weight. She keeps gaining weight. She doesn't know what's going on, and I can't wait to talk to her. But I'm not afraid of saying that. I don't care. You know what I mean? I'm out of the fucking weight loss game where I have to tell you like you're going to lose 50 pounds, this week if you start the program. So I don't have to do that. But what I will work on with her when we speak is I will help clarify for her that she's running a pattern she always does. And I know this about her because we talked about this, where she'll jump into a diet real strict, lose a little bit of weight, can't maintain it, puts the weight back on. But this is the other model that people do sometimes where they start the program and then you're not doing something right. That's what it is. It's not that, oh, it's not working. Oh, it's fucking working great because we're going to diagnose what the problem is. And that's what dieters never do. And the diagnosis will hover around, yeah, you're listening to the sessions, but you're eating more. You're gaining weight because you've been eating more. Where have you been eating more? And we will find that. And that will be very enlightening for her to find out where she's been eating more. Because we create these vague associations, blast everything out of the water. Which, that was a side note too. Yeah, thinking of processed food like you do alcohol, you don't have to try and get yourself to think of it that way. You can just think of it that way. Anytime you eat processed food, just sit quietly with yourself. I've been on this, I don't know, like I haven't been eating terrible, but I definitely been a little bit. I mean, if you looked at the last 2 months of mine, it's been a little off compared to normal. And that offness has had a couple 3-4 days in a row of getting pretty far off and feeling like shit. And I've strung a couple of those together. And I was thinking at the end of this weekend, I was like, man, I was feeling like shit. I'm tired of this. So there's no trying to get yourself to think of it like alcohol as much as it is. I think you just do it Pavlovian style. When you eat processed food, you eat too much of it, you sit with yourself and you just pay attention to the consequence. It's just doing that, But we'll talk about that, Heather, and we'll talk about it tonight. I got your message. So yeah, I get you on there first. No problem. Olive Lou says, what's your opinion on GLP-1s? I don't even know anymore what my opinion on it is. I think it's up for everyone to get to just do what they want to do. And it's not the path I would choose for myself. It's not the path I would want people that I cared about to do at first. But if they're not going to do anything else, I will tell you my take on this, because I've been able to work with a number of people now on these medicines, and people that have gone on them while I've worked with them, And so what I think is, I think the GLP-1 medicine is a wonderful option for you if you don't want to change how you're reading or your lifestyle or your mindset. So I think if you don't have time, energy, focus, motivation, desire to change anything yourself, I think taking the medicine is probably the best chance you have to lose weight. It's probably the only chance you got to lose weight. So there's that. Now, that being said, I think if you zoom out, I think that everything you're hearing about this medicine that's positive is coming out of a giant multi-billion-dollar industry that knows how to sell you medicines. And so, it's a medicine for type 2 diabetics. Why do we have so many type 2 diabetics? Because people are addicted to calories and glucose. And so once again, the Western medicine, and I'm not against Western medicine. I love medicine. I take a statin. I plan on taking the statin for the rest of my life. Why? Because it was almost 10 years I spent trying to do I'm practically a vegan to start with. And I've been on my goal weight, and I don't eat much cholesterol. I don't eat meat, and so I don't eat dairy, but my cholesterol is up 250. I have familial high cholesterol. So things happen. So I take that because it's the only way I can lower my cholesterol. So that being said, if someone doesn't want to change anything and they want to take the medicine, then knock yourself out. But I think that it's just moving the goalposts, and I think you're missing out on a lot. I know people have started taking it, and the reason I think they weren't successful in the first place is they didn't have the energy to change their mindset, lifestyle, or eating. And I think what's going to happen is they're going to end up being thinner and happier that they're thinner with all the same problems that are going on. So for me, I take the weight loss and rapid and personal development. This is really, really a personal development program. And so it's really not, the weight is just one piece of it. It's really about how can I be the best version of myself possible. And so I don't think that the medicine teaches you how to eat better. If it works, it makes you eat less because you just lose your appetite. So you still don't know how to eat necessarily, then you start not to get hungry at all. You worry about muscle loss. I don't know. There's a lot. We'll learn. I just got a book on the way where I'll let you know. I'll let you know the bullshit of it, that I read about it. But, again, it's just always the same choice. People always have the choice. Do you want to do it this way or you want to do it that way? I think there's a lot more benefits to doing the way I'm talking about, but I'm biased. It's the way I teach and talk about and do. So that's that. But what do you want? I was just thinking, we've been raised by corporations. They're just getting more and more control over how we think and what we do. And this is just one more level of it where this will be normalized. It's new now and it'll be normalized. Whatever bullshit that comes out, by the time you hear about all the side effects and the negative effects of it, for people that don't have type 2 diabetes, you'll have already had a primacy frame of it being so great. Is whatever. Some people are going to choose to do that and some people aren't going to do that. So I'm here to talk to the people that don't want to do that, and at the same time, be supportive to people that do want to do it. That's how I feel about it. I don't want to shame it. I don't want to put a stigma around it, make people feel bad so they don't. So I feel conflicted about it, I suppose, but it's not for me. And we all get to do that. Runner 1080 says, how do you get your protein? What are your protein sources? Before I even answer that, people are so worried about protein sources. It kills me. I think it's hilarious. So, speaking of why corporations and how they influence us, who the fuck do you care about protein? Where do you get your vitamins from? Where do you get your micronutrients from, your daily micronutrients from? Huh? What? My what? My micronutrients? What? Yeah, protein. Why do you care so much about protein? Why do I don't care about protein so much? Do you know what I mean, though? Do you ever think about this? Have you ever gotten a protein deficiency test? Thanks, Marcy. You ever heard of a protein deficiency test? You ever got one? Right? Is it worried? Do you think it might have anything to do with the fact that a lot of protein comes from meat? And meat's an enormous, giant industry. But anyways, I mean, I get my protein from beans, vegetables. Don't you need protein for brain function? Of course, but protein in everything. How much protein you need, I think, is way over exaggerated. It's funny though. All I'm saying is, again, it's like and I joke, that's just my inner annoyed vegetarian coming out, right? Because I've been a vegetarian for 25 years, and that's always like the first question someone always asks, But it's like, and Runner 1080, you have your own ways of doing things, so you clearly seem like you know a bit of stuff about this. But a lot of people that ask me about protein don't know shit about nutrients and nutrition. That's just the one thing they know. You know what I mean? And sometimes me thinks that, I'm so conspiratorial minded, especially with the food, that I think the meat industry probably just put that shit in people's head to scare them about being a vegetarian. I think there's a low key, not so low key campaign to scare people about being a vegetarian. There's a lot of conditioning going on, folks, to get you to eat the way you eat, But yeah, here I am, a vegetarian for 25 years. Oh, 1 second. And yeah, I don't notice any protein deficiencies or protein related issues with myself. Poor animals too. Yeah. If you want to think about the animals, that's fine. And I think about the animals too. I think for me, I will say too, I'm not sitting here trying to make anyone vegetarian. I personally, it almost felt like my sexuality. I joke about that all the time, but it literally, like, I was a huge meat eater, for the first 20 years of my life. More than 20 years. I mean like meat multiple times a day, every single day. Huge meat eater. But vegetarian, when I started to find out about it, it just felt right. It was just natural for me. So you don't have to be a vegetarian to be. I think eating meat's not an unhealthy thing. I think what meat you're eating, I would give that some thought. I'm not a big fan of farmed animals at all. Not a huge fan of that. But yeah, Runner 1080 says they have pea brains. Well, cows don't really have pea brains. Cows got brains that are the size of your dog. So I don't know if you think your dog's got a pea brain, but animals got more feelings than you think. But again, that's not even my main motivation. My main motivation is that you're eating these animals that are raised not eating what they're supposed to eat. They're on tons of antibiotics because there's such a stressful, unhealthy environment. And then you're eating that shit. So, I eat fish, a bit of fish. I wouldn't eat farmed salmon. It swims in its own shit. It's a horrible. I wouldn't want to eat that. But Americans aren't known for thinking about their food or where it's coming from. I realize it's a very negative kind of podcast today, but I don't know. Sometimes I guess it's a little frustrating because no one thinks about what they're eating. And it goes back, it hits all my trigger points. No one's thinking about what they're eating. That part's fine, but it's because they've been hypnotized. We're all hypnotized into what we believe. We all believe different stuff. So we're all in different trances, but we're all hypnotized. We all have hypnotic brains. And when I had someone today say, I don't know if I can be hypnotized. And it's like, well, you can. We're all hypnotized constantly. And that's one more thing that you've been conditioned to think of hypnosis as goofy stage thing. When in reality, understanding hypnosis is the most effective way to understand how your brain actually works. You ever thought about this? You ever wonder why you don't do the things you want to do or why you keep doing the things you want to stop doing? Like, you ever really take a step back and thought of how this is happening? And then reflect on the idea that how the fuck can I be a smart adult and have no idea why my behaviors are doing what they're doing? It's kind of weird. Something kind of hits me. W says, I try to intermittent fast more than 18 hours. However, if I fast more, I get keto rash. What can help? That's what I mean. This is, you're going from bad idea to bad idea. What can help? I try to intermittent fast more than 18 hours. However, if I fast more, I get keto rash. What can help? I don't know. I just feel sometimes that things people try to do are just short-sighted. Like, do Do you see yourself doing this for the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? Do you see yourself trying to and just the languaging? I try to intermittent fast more than 18 hours. I try, which means you don't. Sometimes you do. If you are able to do it rarely, on the rare occasions, then you get a keto rash, which here we go. I don't even know what the fuck keto rash is. Let's look it up. I can't wait. I love stuff like this. What's keto rash? So-called prurigio pigmentosa is a rare inflammatory condition of the skin characterized by a red itchy rash around the trunk and neck. It's associated with the ketogenic diet. Well, that sounds great. What causes that? What do we know? What deficiency? It's unclear. The state of being in ketosis could possibly be being in ketosis is goofy. God, W, I'm not picking on you. I want to take this all back. I'm not picking on you. I'm not. I don't know what could help. I mean, I think I do know what could help. You're not going to want to hear it, though. Stop intermittent fasting that long and stop doing keto. I don't know. What could help? I don't know. Listen to a keto expert, and I'm sure they'll have an answer. There's probably some supplement you could take that might help that. If I'm Somalian, I love you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Spider Lily. That's a cool name. I feel like everyone argues that there's nutrients in meat that you can't get from just vegetables. There is, I mean, if you're a vegan, that there's a little bit of truth to that, but if you're a vegetarian, you're fine. So people argue all sorts of stuff. Yeah, Marissa, why are people so obsessed with protein? I mean, why do we think that people are obsessed with I don't know. Like, if you don't think a little conspiratorial, I mean, corporations are conspiracies. I don't know. Like, it's just, if you're just gonna be this, I mean, Jesus Christ, you don't have to have a tinfoil crazy conspiracy person, fine. But I mean, what do you think? What do you think? Like if you don't believe in any conspiracy, what do you think is going on around here? What do you think? What? All right. Can you guys still hear me? Yeah. Real world. I've always had weight problems at 70 when I started intermittent fasting and upped my water, more fruit. All right. Did you lose weight from it? I eat 2 meals with fasting and water, fruit, 0 sugar, yogurt, and eat more vegan foods. Lost 30 pounds and eat 30 more. Yeah, nice job, real world. It's never too late. Never too late. Never too late. What's keto rash? Yeah, again, I something that ketosis gives you. We like when you get fired up. I know, I've been fired up today. I told you, it's been a kind of little combo of bullshit that just sticking in my craw. Anything with the face is off limits. I mean, I eat fish. They got faces, Again, I'm not against eating meat. I don't really have a problem with it. I think the amount of meat that we're conditioned to eat is weird, and I say this all the time. I never really get a good answer, but if you're going to be a carnivore, let's just take it to the extreme. It's like, who are you? Where did you think that was a good idea? Like what society are you referencing that you think it's a good idea to just eat meat? And it's like, I think that, I got nothing against hunting and eating meat. I just think that, like, the idea of how much meat we eat is just, it's weird. No one was eating this much meat in history. Even you just don't even realize. And there weren't even supermarkets. You couldn't keep this much meat good. Like it's just, no one was eating this much meat. No one was eating this much. But yeah. How to stop thinking about your next meal? Now, that's a good question. I think the best way to stop thinking about your next meal all the time is to structure your eating. I think if you're trying to do the classic diet or bullshit where you try not to eat as long as you can, and then you'll eat, I think is the worst thing you can do, because then you're going to be obsessed with your next meal. And not only that, but you're obsessed with a highly palatable, probably unhealthy meal on top of it. So I think structuring your eating is the first step to getting your mindset under control with the food. I really do. And I think that that so much of, again, program yourself in the weight mastery pyramid is mindset, lifestyle, eating. And it's exactly that. Like, how do you navigate a food abundant environment? this is where my mind always goes to, is that we all have brains and bodies that have evolved in a food scarce environment over millions of years. And so you're driven to overeat when you see food, and especially the hyper palatable food that they've now engineered to trigger us, to overwhelm us, to overeat. And so how do you get control of that? So it's like we got the same primitive brains and bodies, but now we're in a food abundant environment. We're literally in an alien environment. We're in a food abundant environment. So how do you deal with that? Because you got the same biology in mind that wants to eat everything in sight. And on top of that, it's super engineered food to trigger all those cravings. So how do you deal with it? I mean, that's program yourself thin is literally everything as part of the program. Is how do you deal with that? And so again, it's strategy on top of strategy. It does take a bit. Well, I just want to do one thing, Jim. I just want to do one thing. I want to count calories and lose weight. Well, then you go do your one thing. Let me know how it goes. But I think you need more. Marcy's keto rash sounds real healthy. Wow. Yeah, it doesn't sound good. I've never even heard of keto rash, but I'm not even surprised. I'm sure there's a bunch of weird keto shit. It's not normal to be in ketosis. Maybe if you're part Eskimo and your family for generations has lived off to, just completely whale blubber for 6 months a year, maybe you've created some genetics that can handle that. But the average person, you've generationally grown up eating fruits, vegetables, meat, tubers, greens, beans. I don't know this. I think about this all the time, that our food, to me, it's the greatest conspiracy in the history of humans, is how our food has changed so drastically in 100 years. It makes my brain turn in on itself. It's just the craziest thing. The last 100 years, food wise, we've completely transformed how we eat, and we don't even remember what it's like to eat normal food. It's just crazy. And you're a little worried about the weight and I don't know. There's just so much going on here, but yeah. I mean, those nutrients got in the cow somehow. Skip the middleman. Yeah. Truth, right? Of course. There's nutrients in the cow and shit. Look at gorillas. All they do is eat leaves. They're jacked up. But it's possible that people don't want to be vegetarian because the meat is an enormous industry. I mean, I always say this, but remember, Oprah Winfrey, when she say one? I forget what she even said. Now that I think about it, but she might have said, "Oh, maybe we should not eat so many hamburgers." She said something like that, and the whole meat industry sued her and won. I believe you could be pretty powerful to take on Oprah Winfrey and win, right? It's an enormous industry, and so you just have to presuppose, I believe, that what you know about meat is probably skewed a bit. You're probably not getting a clear, real, balanced, accurate view of meat. You've been conditioned to overconsume meat. Let me just say it bluntly. I'm not saying stop eating meat, by the way. I'm saying you've been conditioned to overconsume it. That's what me thinks. The carnivore diet scares me. Yeah, it scares me too. I think carnivore diet to me is just peak dipshit influencer reality. I think it's I don't know if carnivore, I'm sure it could have happened at any time, but I certainly think that social media is a big part of this, because I just don't think it's a well thought out diet. And I think what you get in this day and age is you get people coming up with plans and ideas based on what they know is going to be viralish. And I don't know. But maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe carnivore is great, but it scares me. I wouldn't want to do it. Olive says, I was told I need 120 grams a day of protein. Again, I mean, I will say this. I mean, we all see it, but it's like, who the fuck are you trying to learn about weight loss and health from? And I put myself in this category gladly, because am I jacked up? Do I have single % body fat? Would people look at me and say I'm skinny fat and not healthy? Yes, they would. And they do. I hear it. And I don't give a shit, because I look at them and I say this abundance of muscle is weird to me. I'm not knocking anyone. You want it, knock yourself out. But it's an unnatural thing in the sense that your whole life is about pounding protein into your body so that you can have this unnaturally high amount of muscle. You know what I mean? And it's like, and yet then we look at these people and say, just show me, teach me your tricks. Let me sit at the feet of the master. Well, you're nothing like them. You know, I see. I remember this. I know. I'm not talking out my ass. I'm the one. I did. I did an interview series 10 years ago with some of the top nutritionists and fitness trainers on the planet, authors. You know what I mean? Like big ass people. And I did. I talked to like 30 of them ultimately, somewhere around there. And so I know. I talked to them. I said, "What? You know, we would talk about strategies. We talk about mindset." And you know, someone they're just jacked up. And I said, "What's your motivation, man? How do you get so motivated?" "I want to get laid. I want to get laid." So, all right, cool. I ain't knocking it. I'm not knocking it, but I'm trying to give you a perspective from a normal person. I always joke. I got this presentation I do. My mom took a picture of me at the beach one year, and my mom, if you know my mom, you know she takes awful pictures of you, and she took this picture of me. It's just funny. It's not the most flattering picture. Whatever. I don't give a shit. A funny side note to that is somehow she posted that on Instagram and somehow attached it to a charity out in Germany. And so all of a sudden there was like German comments coming. That was a funny thing. But anyways, the point being, I was like, I have a presentation. I'm like, you should be learning how to lose weight from a guy like this. Cause it's clearly a body that doesn't go to the gym a lot. It's not like this, I don't know, 6-pack abs. It's like this perfect body. And I think we've been tricked somewhere along the way that we're listening to our weight loss suggestions from people that are real outliers, that their entire reality is working out and counting meals and calories and carbs and protein and everything. And I'm not knocking it. Again, there's a place for that clearly, but somehow it's kind of overtaken the majority of people that aren't going to do that. And so what it trickles down, because where it does lead to you is when you do say, okay, now I really got to lose. I really got to do this, is you intuitively, instinctively choose a really intense plan that you can't keep up, or some workout plan, some eating plan that's so extreme for you that you can't do it for long and you never get results. But you think to yourself, that's how I got to do it. So I show up here every day for free because I try to give you a middle of the road real plan that basically, you know, it was created studying normal people and how they did it. I didn't study bodybuilding. I mean, I did that series I did 10 years ago, but my original mentors, if you want to call them that, were people that I met at the Y, people I met along my travels in real normal life. How'd you lose weight? How'd you do it? That's where everything I teach you comes from. Realistic, practical solutions. This is why I believe in all or something thinking as opposed to all or nothing thinking. Yeah, 120 grams of protein a day. That's a full-time job. Realize I don't find it hard to not eat from 8 p.m. to 1 to 2 p.m. I feel better with that, and better food seems easy. That's great, real world. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I'm saying. I'm not against intermittent fasting at all. I'm saying it works well for some people and it doesn't work well for others, is what I'm saying. I intermittent fast, but I do it my own way. I intermittent again, and I put my quotes up because I know the intermittent fasting police might come for me if I say I'm intermittent fasting when I only do it 12 or 13 hours. You know, there's no magic at 16 hours. It's just a round number. And so, but if you do it and you love it and you can do it all day, great, knock yourself out. I don't like doing it all day. I don't like not eating till 1, 2 in the afternoon. I like eating in the morning. So what I'm saying to you is that you can take these different plans and ideas and consider them, test them out, and then see how do they work with you? Do you like it? You know, just because it's a little difficult in the beginning doesn't mean, you know, we get through that. Now I really like it. But at the end of the day, how do I feel about doing this thing? You know, and I think a lot of people don't do that. And they're just blindly following other people and trying to force themselves to do what other people are doing. Real world. Yeah. But if I wake up hungry, I do it. But it's not much. Well, you know what, real world, that's wonderful. I think that's wonderful that you do that because that's flexible. Flexibility is probably the most important ingredient of your success. And you have no flexibility in your weight loss plans. Let's be honest. You got no flexibility. There's no flexibility in your weight loss plan. Real world, that I love that. So they come out and they say, I got the strict thing that I do, and it's strict. It's strict for the average person. Easy for you, fine. For the average person, that's a strict thing. But then you come back and say, if I wake up hungry, I do eat. Great. It's not much, but you eat. Great. That's a plan B. When your weight loss plans, folks, how many plan Bs you got? What's your plan B when you're keto, when you feel like eating some carbs and you eat some carbs? What do you do then? What do you do when you're intermittent fasting? You wake up and you're starving. Yeah, no flexibility. Flexibility. The diets are all owned by the food companies. So, if you want to follow the Nestle diet, right? That Nestle just put out a new diet. You're going to follow that. You're going to follow the, the Cinnabon diet, right? You're going to follow the Cinnabon diet, the Ben and Jerry's diet. Ben and Jerry's comes out with a diet plan. You're going to get that. Would you trust it? But you'll follow Weight Watchers. You follow Atkins. You follow Slim Fast. You're like, Jim, what the fuck are you talking about? What I'm talking about is that Weight Watchers was owned by Heinz. Jenny Craig was owned by Nestle. The company owns Atkins Food Products. The same company owns Cinnabon and Auntie Anne's Pretzels. The company owns, did I say this one? Slim Fast is the same company that owns Ben and Jerry's ice cream. I think I doubled one of those up, but you get the point, So what they've done with the diet mindset is they've made diets extremely rigid, all or nothing thinking. Jump in, you want to get this. You want to look better, right? The way you think about weight loss was implanted there by the food companies, and it doesn't work. They get you coming and going, though. They get you when you're eating all the bullshit, and then you get really upset, want to go on a diet. They get you when you buy their diet stuff, and then they know it's not going to work, so they get you back with the food again. You're just a hamster. You're on a hamster wheel put there by the food industry, and you just keep running on it. So I'll try and give you a way off. Mario says, keto rash, is that a joke? I had never heard of it until today, but it's clearly not a joke. Sounds terrible. When I looked it up. Real well. I don't count calories, fat, or protein. Yeah, me either. Karen says it really is disgusting when you think of the artificial stuff we consume. Yeah. Did it start with snack cakes? Maybe. I don't know what the first artificial sweetener I found out was the origins of saccharin. A guy was playing with coal tar. No, you heard me, coal. I said coal. He was playing with coal tar, experimenting with it, not playing with it, doing experiments with it. It got in his fingers. He licked it, or somehow it got in his mouth. It was the 1870s. What do I know? And so it was super sweet. And that became, the genesis of artificial sweeteners. So that's the first lesson we're doing for the Thrive program next Monday. That's going to be the lesson. We're going to go through the first couple of weeks. Actually, I'm going to go through ultra processed people and the Dorito effect. The Dorito effect. I can't recommend that book enough. Because let me share. I'll share with one of the key points of the Dorito effect in my world. He really makes this point so elegantly in that. That was a great book. He puts us, the public, American public, he basically puts us right there with livestock. We're basically just livestock to these companies. Why, Jim? What do you mean? Because the thing with livestock, the challenge with livestock is getting them to eat a lot. We all have kind of natural balances within us that kind of balance out our calories, most of us. And so animals as well. So how do you get animals to keep eating and eating and eating? Because all that matters for livestock is how fast you can get them to slaughter to get your money. That's all that matters. Everything, the predominant factor that dictates all of our food cycle and our food industry is profits, how quickly they can make money. So with livestock, the big challenge is how do you get them to keep eating? And what they use is a thing called palatants. Okay. And palatants are just flavorings and they trigger hunger. And he makes the point in the book that they treat us like livestock because the goal here is how can we keep getting the food down their throats? Because if you eat real natural food, you don't keep eating. You ever wonder why you're always hungry? You ever wondered? You eat a whole bag of chips and half an hour later you're hungry again? Eat a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, an hour later you're hungry again? It's not a surprise. It's not a mistake. It's conditioned into you. It's engineered, literally. And so, yeah, they treat us like livestock. And they've done, so you don't see this and you wouldn't ever imagine this in a million years. But with livestock, they've experimented so much with palatants. What can we put in this food? And so understand this, understand the thinking. right? You got these animals, you want to turn them into baby animals, into full grown animals that we can cut up and make money off of. What's the fastest way we can do that? And the cheapest way, not just the fastest, the cheapest too. They go hand in hand. They're intertwined around each other. Well, the cheapest way is to give them real shitty ingredients. Okay, well, we got lots of shitty ingredients. Problem is they won't eat them. Palatants, we'll put the flavoring on them. So they'll put flavoring on shit because it overrides their brains and their bodies, and their brains, they're eating shitty ingredients, but they think they're eating something good. So they keep eating the shitty ingredients and they gain weight and they can slaughter them. And there they go. Well, hey, guess what? Guess what? They did the same thing with humans. What are you fucking eating? You know, and I'll bring it right back to, I remember this book. I'll always remember this. He went to the Cheez-It factory and they gave him some Cheez-Its without salt on them. He goes, it tasted like metal filings. What's a Cheez-It? What's a Cheez-It? What do you think a Cheez-It is? It's not cheese. It's just, you know, everything's fucking corn and wheat. You know, there's other stuff, but I can promise you this, whatever the majority of stuff that's in the boxes and the bags, when you go to the grocery store, it's excess produced goods. It's cheap ass stuff. It's nutritionally deficient stuff. And what they're doing is they're sprinkling the flavor on it because it overrides your brain and body, and you're just eating trash that you would never eat in a million years. You would never eat this trash in a million years without the salt, the flavorings, the palatants, all this stuff. But they figured out that they can just sprinkle some of this stuff on there, and what? It tricks your body and brain. You want more of it. You want more of this wheat pulp. You want more of this corn pulp. You know, and that's what you're doing all day long, is put wheat and corn pulp into your body. No, that's right. I do eat some chicken, but I like the veggie meat. Yeah. I mean, vegetables, you know, and even vegetables are less nutrient dense in varieties than we used to have, but it's better than the animals. The animals, 100 years ago, they had a national contest to see who could bring the fastest growing chicken. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's been 100 years of hyper optimization around economic factors. They didn't say bring us the tastiest chicken. They said, bring us the fastest growing chicken. That was 100 years ago. And so they got the fastest growing chicken. That was 100 years ago. And they've added on top of that. Everything's about how fast they can get it to your plate. No one cares about nutrients. And you wonder why you're hungry all the time. And it's because you don't even fucking understand nutrients. You understand? You've been hypnotized. You're living in a room where you're not even seeing black as white anymore. You don't even know about micronutrients. How are you making food decisions? How are you strategizing your weight loss if you're not even taking into account what role do nutrients play? Jim, what are you talking about? Who gives a shit about nutrients? I just care about calories. Oh, that's interesting. You only care about calories? Why do you think that is? Why do you think the only way you're able to think about weight loss is just through calories, basically, and restricting them? Why do you think that is? Maybe it's because the food companies own the diet companies have taught you about weight loss. Maybe the food companies don't want you to think about nutrients. Wouldn't that affect their business model? Now, if you think about calories, it doesn't matter. You're going to consume the same calories anyways. But I know a guy. I read a story about a guy. He was a professor. I read a story about a professor. He ate McDonald's and he lost 50 pounds eating McDonald's. Doesn't matter what you eat. It just comes down to calories. You ever say that or think that to yourself? Hear someone say it to you? Well, there you go. Someone just tried to hypnotize you. Someone's been hypnotized. Why do you think you're hungry all the time? It can't possibly be because you're not eating enough calories. You're fucking hungry all the time. You're hungry all the time. It can't be because you're not eating enough calories. You're probably eating 3,500 calories a day. No way. No way. Yeah, because you only track your calories when you're eating well. But track your calories on a day when you're not eating well. And let me know where you're at. Yeah, the average American consumes about 3,500 calories. Yeah. The weight gain we've seen happen in America is correlated almost exactly with the increase in calories. So yeah, you're eating more calories, even though you're doing everything in your power to eat less calories. So the calories are not the reason that you're hungry. How many more fucking calories can you eat to not feel hungry? You ever wondered that? Is it possible that you might be hungry because you're not getting the nutrients you need? Doesn't it make sense to you that if your body's not getting the calories, it's going to send you a hunger signal? Doesn't it make sense then if your body's not getting the nutrients it needs, it'll send you a hunger signal? You don't think your body has any ability to recognize what nutrients you need and want? And it might send you a hunger signal to encourage that behavior? That's again the Dorito effect. He talks about post-ingestive feedback. That in a normal world for millions of years, we would live in nature and we would eat different things. And we would figure we would eat something. This makes me feel better. I eat this, I feel shittier. And we would remember that. We can't do that anymore because what we're eating isn't what it is. What we're eating is so processed and manipulated and then flavored that nothing shows up as what it is. We're not seeing things. We're not tasting things. We're not experiencing things for what they really are. So post-ingestive feedback, plus that mechanism has been shut down you a long time ago. We use that in Program Yourself Thin because it's a powerful tool. Mario says, wait, what? People say you're skinny fat? Yeah. There's dipshits out there with again, I'm not judging them all, but there's a lot of people out there that really love lifting weights and really care about having single digit body fat and defined muscles and all the rest of it. I get comments like that sometimes. Well, listen to this guy. Look at this guy. He looks puffy and fat. And it's like, they're trolling to some degree, but they're not as well. People think that. So this is another part. This is a whole other part of the story that, we live in a crazy society. You got to watch out who you listen to because there's a lot of people out there that are fucking idiots. And yet they get a huge microphone, and I would say, if you don't believe me, go search carnivore and listen to some of them. I think that's a quick way to find some of them, I think. I never heard of the carnivore diet till I saw it on TikTok. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know. Without social media, I'm not sure where the carnivore diet, because I think your brain says, wait a second. We're not carnivores. Oh, we don't have intestines like carnivores. Our teeth aren't like carnivore teeth. I don't know about that. But then you hear some doctor saying it and with a fancy video and some, obscure misunderstood information. And it's like, maybe that makes sense. I'm so desperate to lose weight. I'll try that. Yeah. Yeah. So real world, we go out on Saturdays a lot for breakfast. I eat. So real world is the type of person I would have modeled and brought you the information, because you're saying exactly the stuff that we've kind of systematized into Program Yourself Thin, is that you need to have some flexibility. You got to have flexibility. What do you think of that, folks? You never even think of your diet in terms of those concepts. Do you ever consider how flexible your diet is or how inflexible it is? Because I already know it's always inflexible, rigid, strict. No room for error. No room for mistakes. Come on. No pain, no gain. Just do it. Let's go. You got to want this. You got to want this more. Come on. Give me a fucking break. Enough. Enough's enough. David Goggins, I think of as the leader of that thing now. And I'm sure he's fine. I'm not like that. You're probably not like that. So why try and force yourself to be like that? That's my question. That's what I don't understand. Cinnamon diet. Imagine that. No one would get that diet, I hope. What's up, Astrid? I'm learning to love my salad more and more and enjoy the feeling after it. Oh, Astrid. That's such a big deal for you, Astrid. I'm so proud of you for doing that. Such a big deal. Oh, yeah. Frozen dinners during war times. Yeah, that makes sense. It's the very reason why there's so much more childhood obesity than we continue on. Yep. Yeah, get that book, Karen. The Dorito Effect was amazing. Ultra processed people's amazing too. Dorito Effect, and I don't know, ultra processed people. I've heard a lot of people, they really love that book. I knew a lot of those things. Dorito Effect really hit me right between the eyes. I thought it was really good. I don't know if you feel the same way, but for me, it just, I thought he was putting his finger on something I'd never considered. Again, them treating us like livestock. I think that's very insightful. I've read that too. I think that's an interesting point they were saying, is that, again, most people try and shame themselves, guilt themselves into losing weight. And they've found out to be what's way more effective is when you take a step back and realize how you're being manipulated through the food. And that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, that's what worked with the cigarettes. When you start to realize, when you put the food companies in the same category as cigarette companies and drug dealers, you might start to make different decisions. You might think about things differently. You don't think about food that way right now. Right now, the food is like your friend. It's a friend. It's a safe place. It's protection. It's all this fucking, it's just like cigarettes were that way for people. And now that they see things more accurately, we've all been duped. We're the first generation of nonstop marketing, mass media, mass production. It's just, and here we are. I mean, that's why we got so much overweight. It's not one thing. It's multiple things all at the same time. And yeah, that's why again, taking a pill that just kills your appetite seems like the great thing to do. And it's like, but it was, it's like we're getting so many layers into Crazyville that you're not even going to be able to see reality anymore, normal reality. And so it's like, I read all this stuff about like the semaglutides and stuff. And it's like, oh, you can do them forever. They're built for type 2 diabetes. Well, let's go back to the type 2 diabetes conversation I haven't even finished having. Why are we having type 2 diabetes? The whole Western medicine is built on how can we manage your type 2 diabetes, not how can we prevent it? How can we fix it? How can we cure it? I know people that have been diagnosed type 2 diabetic, that have been type 2 diabetic for years, that don't have any fucking clue about glucose and insulin, about foods and how it impacts their body. I find that the ignorance about glucose and insulin and processed food and flour and sugar is pretty much the norm in our society. So if you don't, just like cigarettes, 100 years ago, no one understood the connection between cigarettes and lung cancer, cigarettes and cancer in general, cigarettes and heart disease, cigarettes in your cardiovascular system. No one understood the connections between them. And we're in the same place now somehow, even though so many people, they just look at type 2 diabetes as just like a disease that you get because you age. It's been so normalized, and the medical industry is a huge part of that. And we're the ones that have to deal with it. Yeah, real world says so much cheese isn't cheese. Yeah, absolutely. There's regular cheese, right? Yeah, John says good points. The Matrix. Yes, The Matrix. The Matrix is my number one movie of all time. And I think it explains a lot, whether it's literal or figurative. It explains a lot. And I think it's a good way to look at things. Marcy said, I live next to a chicken farm, and the guy who ran it told me to never eat their chicken. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I mean, farmed food, livestock, it's go look into it. I don't know. I'm not against eat all the animals you want. I like animals enough. You know what I mean? Like I do care that is a part of it, but it's way more my health, And so I'm not going to sit here and try to make you feel bad about eating animals. I'm going to say, look at what you're fucking eating. Look at the diet they're living on. Look at the conditions they live in. Look how they prepare them for you. And I think you'll lose your appetite real quick. Maybe you won't. Cool. But I think what's going to happen is I think most people, this happened 30 years ago, the vegetarian thing. They always say, like, if you want to make everyone a vegetarian, make the slaughterhouses out of glass. And I think there's some truth to that. But I don't want to go down that path with you all, because that's not what I'm here for. But what I'm saying is that's just like a door you could crack open to realize that you don't want to go down that path, because there's you use your ignorance as a shield. You use your ignorance as a shield. And one way that shows up is with the meat. Again, I'm not talking about animal rights. Fuck the animals for a second. Okay. But let's just look at, what are you putting into your body? At the end of you're the end of the line, right? You're the end consumer. What are you putting into your body? Where did it all come from? It wasn't on a nice field. You didn't have a grazing cow out in a field, living its normal life. In a normal reality, animals are nutrient aggregators. They graze and travel over hundreds of square miles. So by the time you're consuming the meat, you're consuming this rich, diet of all these different nutrients. There's huge nutrient diversity and density of what these animals have been eating for their lives. And then you're eating it, tons of value to that. But what are you eating now? Cows that lived on dirt, that have been eating corn for their whole lives. I mean, stress chemicals flowing through their body, antibiotics. Again, if you don't want to hear this, that's cool. I get it. Like I don't want to force this stuff in your throat, but what I'm trying to say is that that's just one example of all you're shrouded in a helmet of ignorance where you can't see things for what they are. And I think taking that off, it's hard to see things in a new way because you feel like, oh shit, if I see, I'm going to have to change everything. I get that. But at the same time, if you really care about your weight and your health, how can you not? It's because it goes on to another point. I'm never going to find this. I screw this number, but I keep meaning to look at it after I finish my, let me see if I can find it this way. Let me see. I want to give you a little stat that might change the way you think about something. But this, let me see if I can get this for you. If I wrote it down, I know I must have wrote this down because this really always stuck with me so much. All right, I'll just give you the quick one. But anyways, I'm going to find it. Anyways, the point being this, that when we think about our exposure to the world, we tend to think about our skin, our exposure, right? So there's radiation, smoke, sun coming out here. Oh no. But that's third place. Your skin exposure to the world's third place. Second place is your lungs, right? So again, if you took your skin and ironed it all out, it's tens of square feet. If you take your lungs and iron them out, it's like the size of half a tennis court. But the biggest exposure to the world is what you put in here. If you took your intestines and you ironed them all out, it's like half the size of a football field. So the chemicals, the toxins, the antibiotics, the stress chemicals from the animals, all that shit is going in your body and staying there a lot longer than all the other exposures to the world. And so if you wonder why you're not feeling that great, you're feeling a little lethargic, feeling a little tired, do you think at all? But anyways, yeah, they certainly don't want you to think about fiber. Absolutely. And no one's thinking about fiber. Yeah. So I'm glad you reminded me of that because it's a knee-jerk response. Like literally, there's two things I can count on in the world. And I'm not picking on you if you would have said this. I say knee-jerk things all the time. There's two things I can always depend on in the world. Okay. The first one is if I say I'm a hypnotist, someone's going to say, what are they going to say? As soon as they find out I'm a hypnotist, what do you think? If you ran into me on the street, like, oh, you're a hypnotist? Are you? Are you gonna make me cluck like a chicken? That's that. And then the second one, oh, I'm vegetarian. Well, how do you get your protein? It's like they just one follows the other. It has to happen. So yeah, that protein question comes right out. But it's like, how much fiber are you eating? Where are you getting your fiber from? What do you mean? I rest my case. So I would say that your fiber intake, you might want to reflect on that a little bit rather than your protein for a little bit and see what happens. Because how do you get fiber? You eat normal, healthy, natural food. So increase your fiber intake and then talk to me in a week. Let's see where you're at. See what's going on. Protein's satiating too. I'm not knocking the benefits of protein. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's over-indexed. It's over-focused on. And fiber is... They're literally their equivalents almost. People are so obsessed with protein. And again, the irony, shit, speaking of irony, I'd understand more if people were like, what about your iron levels? Because iron levels are legit. I was anemic growing up for a little bit there. And so I could see because you do take an iron test when you've taken a protein test. Is protein levels such a fucking thing that you've never even got tested for it? Again, it's just funny. It's funny stuff. Big Pharmacy doesn't want us cured. They want us on meds when your diet could cure a lot. There you go. I didn't say it. Real world said it. And I think they're right. I think it's a business model. Again, I love medicine. I love doctors. I love all that stuff. But I also think it's a business, and it's a business model that revolves around treating symptoms, not finding cures for you. And so that's why I say the GLP-1s are not a cure. So don't come to me all high and mighty like you fucking figured something out. Fine, you took a pill and you lost some weight. I'm great. I'm happy for you. But that's not a cure. That has taking that pill and losing weight is like light years away with what I'm talking about. Program Yourself Thin. They almost have nothing to do with each other. So totally different. The guy in Super Size Me lost a ton of McDonald's. He almost died as well. He actually did die, Marcy. He literally died this week. But again, you can never believe anything. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You just said, yeah. Karen just said that. He was a real intense alcohol issue. And He should have said that in that movie, you know, because again, a lot of his liver functioning was kind of glossed over a little bit, but a lot of that was alcohol. So, anyways, I saw that. Very interesting. Yeah, all of a sudden people are malnourished. Yes, exactly. It's the crazy. That's the times we live in. See, and that's why Ozempic has nothing to do. Ozempic, Oprah, she ain't talking about that at all. But a lot of overweight people are malnourished. If you start nourishing yourself, you'd be shocked, I think, at how much easier it is to control your weight. Myra says, why do we still keep eating the junk even after feeling like shit? Well, because it's an addiction at this point for most people. And so you feel like shit. And once you, again, you know, I was thinking that's why I'm going to watch this movie and I'll report back on it about you. But I watched them with the cigarettes because cigarettes are like this. You know, cigarettes really aren't that enjoyable. You know, people that smoke cigarettes, you know, that get addicted, they get a slight buzz. But then what happens is very, very quickly it sets a new norm. And if you don't get the cigarettes, now you feel like shit. And so, you know, once you feel like shit, how are you going to feel better? You know, it's almost like you get a detox from it. It's the classic, you know, tolerance issue with substances, is that the thing that make you feel like shit becomes the thing that makes you takes the feeling like shit away for a second. And so you go to it and that's how you think about it. So that's where it's at. The meals they serve these kids at school are atrocious. Oh, it's 1,000%. It's atrocious. My kids are in school and it's fucking atrocious. I mean, but you know, it's just the food thing to me. It's crazy. Crazy. As the guy passed away. Yeah, he just passed away. Real World, so they're really listening to you. Well, thank you, Real World. I like listening to what you're writing. I really like it because you really are a person who's balancing things out, you know, in a real way. You're doing all the things I talk about because I intermittent fast. Like I said, I intermittent fast for 12, 13, 14 hours. But I can hear the flexibility in what you're doing. So I hope everyone hears that. It's the flexibility that they're exhibiting. And they said, it took me a long time to figure this out. I get it. It's taken me a long time to figure it out. I've been at this for 30 years personally, 20 years professionally. And by the way, if you're not in my world, make sure you go to my bio, click the link at the hypnosis session I give you, watch the video I made, and read the emails I send you. But yeah, it's taken a while to figure it out. And that's why I do this every day for free, because you deserve to feel good. You deserve to be healthy. You deserve to live at the weight you want to live at. You deserve to be free of all this bullshit, a life free of this constant stress and struggle with all this stuff. You deserve all that. And Program Yourself Thin is designed to give it to you. So I appreciate it, though. My mom wouldn't quit till she had triple bypass. Holy cow. But, you know, the truth is that even when you get triple bypass, they did this with a group of men over 60, I believe, but they tracked men that had all had open heart surgery and only 20% changed their lifestyle, you know? So it's a crazy world. And I think about this stuff all the time. Myra says, do you teach about nutrition to your kids yet? Yeah, of course. They're outliers nutritionally. So if anything, I let them, they know a lot about nutrition, probably too much, but I try and ease off on it. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to, sometimes to go too far, you push them away with it. So I give them space. I let them eat bullshit. You know, I don't keep them 100% clean with stuff. I let them eat their bullshit so they can experience and know what it's like. You know, I talk about it all the time though. But Mario, you know what I meant to ask you is I was looking up the Jubilee video finally, and I was actually watching it right before we started, but which one were you talking about? I saw one, it was guys, like it was fit versus fat guys is what they called it. And then I saw one of those from 6 months ago, it was women. Which one were you talking about, Mario? Because I was watching it, and I wanted to get through that and get back to you with some thoughts on it. It's kind of all the stuff I said, and it's like I'll tell you what, and it's just like I thought. 'Cause I mean, it's a video, so it's meant to be triggering, and so the one I watched had some guy there from, yeah, the newest one. Okay, so yeah, okay, so it's like again, I think I like the concept. I like people having conversations. I like all that. But I also know it's a YouTube channel for views. So I get that. And so I know that they're looking for people that are, you know, So they got some podcast guy on it, and he's just acting like an asshole. He's the fit guy, but he's just acting like an asshole. And it devolves the whole level of conversation down, which is usually what most things kind of end up going to in this day and age. But so anyways, yeah, he says, I think those people were acting, at least I hope so. Yeah, so it's like I listen to stuff like that and I don't like it because it's a lot of our reality now kind of entrenches us into one side or the other. I think that's a part of the plan too, is, divide and conquer. So I think that they divide us into one group. And so the fit and fat, it's like you get people on each side that are just hyper that way. Not all of them, but most of them. And so it makes you, if you're kind of starting off on one side or the other, they got like that person on the other side that it just entrenches you even deeper into that side, is what I see a lot of that stuff. So I don't like just base level conversations. I like more nuance and thought, but I get what you're saying. So I don't know. Like I'll watch the rest. I kind of started watching it and I feel the same way. I always feel annoyed watching stuff like that. Because again, and it's the reason I do this. I know this here isn't for most people. My program's not for most people. My program's for overthinkers, people that think a lot and on the perfectionist scale and that have the ability to think about things in more detail. That's what this program's for. Because there's a lot of stuff in it, and most people don't want to do that. Most people just want to be told what to do and then try and force themselves to do it. And I don't see that working well. But I see a lot of these YouTube videos are kind of like that. They just kind of like, it's not well thought out conversations. It's kind of just each side kind of throwing bombs or making points you already heard before. So anyways, all right, I want to get out of here. Holy shit, we've been here for a little while, but start off slow and we got here anyways. So again, if you're not in my world, make sure you go to my bio, click the link, get the hypnosis session, watch the video I made for you, and read the emails. And yeah, make sure you get on my list, because one of the things I'm going to do this week, I think, whether I give you that training or not, I might redo it for you all. But I just redid if you're in the program too, I just redid the redo rehearsal training. It's put out there as the program itself then method. So there's kind of about 15, 20 minutes of overview with some real key concepts. That's what we're going to go through today on the 3:00 call today, the live class. And then I followed up with probably about 15, 20 minutes of the redo rehearsal. I redid those trainings and they're a lot better. Some of the feedback I already gotten is better. So go watch those. If you haven't watched them in a little while, go check them out. They're right in the membership area right under there. So go check that out. So yeah, thank you everyone. I appreciate you all enjoying this. Great questions. I appreciate it. Thanks for putting up with my bad mood today. And we'll talk soon. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.